Okay, so welcome back to the final chapter of our 1020 tale. Tale of many twists and turns and intrigue and dramatic irony. Who will be the man in the chili pepper costume? Watch this and find out. Don't know much about either of these short stacks. Um, they have position on me, which is kind of annoying because it's going to hinder my ability to open as many hands. Um, okay, looks like I got on a great table. Probably gonna get off this one. I got on a better one. Um, so yeah, it hinders my ability to open as many hands to isolate these guys because, well, they're gonna be shoving over me. They're textbook short stack shoving hands, especially if they're good short stacks. They're aware of like what my opening range is, and they're gonna exploit that. As much as it pains me to say a short stack can exploit me, they can if they're paying a lot of attention. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to get off this and substitute this beautiful one in. Hopefully it can play out the last, it looks like 150 hands or so and make some money off. This guy's a 32-21. So kind of a laggy player, and this guy's a 58-13. Let's check the lobby to see if he actually has money though. And he does. Yep, there he is. So I'm up about, to give you a status update, I'm up about 2,400 now with, I think, two hands that, one again that I don't think was misplayed, and the other that was gruesomely misplayed. And been running at 25, 22, which is a little bit tighter than I normally play these days. But I think I've had good reason to play it a little bit tighter. Let's look at my anything other notable things so far. Yeah, my aggression is just completely general. Aggression factor is pretty standard. Descending staircase from flop to the river. I really, really hope I hit something here. Boo. His stats, Haj, he is 43-13 over 200 hands. So as you can see, we're on about the best 10-20 tables that you can get right now. Although I'm honestly surprised there aren't more running and there aren't better ones because it is a Saturday night, late Saturday night. Where are all the fish? The sharks have scared them away tonight. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Okay. With the backdoor flush draw in position and one overcard, I'm definitely going to be c-betting this flop into. Oh, I didn't realize Hootie Toot Tay is there. I don't think it's a terrible c-bet anyway. But I'll definitely bet into two opponents. I'd probably even bet if I realized who Tay is there, because I have position on these two, so he's not gonna float as often as either of these two. Well, especially Shapley, he's not gonna float as often because these two are behind him. So I don't necessarily have to worry about that, and he also has to be worried about these guys check raising. So gonna make my presence known. Some people like three betting bigger, but I honestly I really don't mind the size I make it at all because I'm pretty comfortable with how to bluff post flop. I'm manipulating the pot size post flop at this point, but for I think people moving up and people getting familiar with three bet pots is often better to just make it big and make it more incorrect for people to call against you just because you're not as comfortable manipulating pot size and messing around with funky bet sizes and making strange bluffs in these re-raise pots. I think you have to earn your stripes first and like get comfortable at a limit and be well overrolled for it. So if you're moving up, you generally want to play tighter when you're first there, and for the most part, you're gonna have to spew a bit in these re-raise pots, like to get comfortable with pot manipulation and bluffing, and figure out what works and what doesn't work. There's no amount of textbook studying and video watching and coaching at this point that uh, no amount of that is going to show you how to do that. You're just going to need to get your own experience. Karosh looks like he got min re-raised by 9-10 off by Haj, and Karosh re-raised. Went check check bet 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 bet. Very interesting. So this guy's like probably gonna tilt now. Just complete mongoloid. Who's bluffing? John C. Holm, I've never seen before. He's from Canada. He could be a regular, but I've never seen him. I've been monitoring these games for a little bit, so hopefully he's somewhat fishy. Although he did buy in full, so that you know for, that's the only all the information I have to other than the fact that I haven't really seen him around. Based on that information, I can't really peg him as a fish because people who buy in full tend to want to play 100 big bet poker. Oh look, it's the nuts. So if he opens the button, I'm just gonna call here and keep the fish in rather than re-raise. And I don't want anything to do with that board. Can't effectively check raise because he's not always going to see bet. And I also can't check raise because the fish is in between us, and I really can't lead because that relies on finding either getting the fish to fold, which is just that that line just makes me laugh. Getting the fish to fold, that's just a complete paradox. Getting the fish or Jill Sinclair to fold, and that could get ugly. So ship D monies. What are my stats on him? What does his cold call mean? I actually have no stats on him. But I'm curious about what he's calling with, so I'm just gonna check. He could have a pocket pair, but he could also be slow playing. I think he's more often. Yeah, he's got something that hit that potentially like King X or Queen X or just actually slow play at Ace King or Queens or something. So he's definitely stacking off here. I'd be extremely surprised if he folded. There we go. It's funny how I'm actually gonna float this because checker is so small. That's a terrible turn card. Um, yeah, I'm gonna muck here. Checker is so small and he's kind of laggy that I think he could do that with all sorts of gut shots and also bluffs. So I'll float that, and if he checks it a turn, I would bet. Maybe not that turn, but most turns. And I also have 6 overcard outs. I do not know much about him other than his stats, and like I was advocating not to do that against players who I'm gonna call here. Standard is repopping, but I kind of want to play this in position against them, and I'm gonna call this. Two interesting flops. Both could get me in trouble. Well, this is obviously getting raised. And here I'll call. See what happens. Nice, I won that. And I think, given this guy's propensity to call, I'm going to jam in with Queen King there. Could have raised the flop, but I kind of wanted. His bet size was kind of small, so I was unsure what he was doing. And I mean, not gonna lie, I was probably gonna call it off if he bet the turn, because the bet size combination would have been weird, or shove over his bet. But I mean, definitely, there's no reason to check the river. A ton of cards can come. He may not, and he may just be liable to check call me with pocket sevens, given what I've seen that guy do against everyone else. I think shoving is absolutely the most profitable play on the turn there. And if he's slow playing, he's slow playing. It's just something that you come to terms with when you decide to defend a hand like that in position pre-flop. I mean, I know he's 3-betting lots of hands, so there's no way I'm ever folding that. So last time when we did our 5-10 no limit challenge, I was looking at Emil's tables and he wasn't looking at mine, so he's kind of annoyed that I was able to play that queen's hand um, a little more passively at the end to lock up the bet. So we agreed this time to not be able to look at each other's tables, and there's also the I almost want to check raise this to make more money because he'll bet his air and fold to a check raise. I'm gonna bet this again. He might peel with ace high, and I've got a ton of outs. He might peel the flop with ace high, and I've got a ton of outs on the turn. Be horrible if he shoved, but I think I have full equity, and he'll call more than he shoves. There we go. So yeah, so this time we agreed not to be able to look at each other's results during, so as not to influence play, which I think detracts from this from an entertainment standpoint, but adds to it educationally. Um, but the problem is, anyway, we can't be playing at the same time simply because there aren't that many games running right now, and we live in the same apartment, so we're not able to play on the same table. Uh, the other interesting thing I think that is actually somewhat of a concern is that I'm gonna call because he only raised to 30 here, and I think he did that because of the short stack in. So I'm gonna potentially make some moves post flop. So anyway, one of the other interesting things is that people see White Lime and Prinny Raid at the tables, and the games might break. Okay, so he made it 50, which either means he was trying to induce a raise from the short stack or not. I think he just is bluffing here, um, primarily because you know I really don't think he was thinking about that. I don't think he realized that he made a 50 pre-flop because he was raising a sort of a trashy hand. He didn't want to get shoved on 70 by and lose out an extra 20 by the short stack. And now I think he's probably gonna check this back. I doubt he would bet a 10 on the turn. This is gonna be an interesting spot if he bets. Here he's getting repopped. And here I'm gonna hit time and see what he does on this table on the right before I deal with my decision there. Nice. So he's just shoving all sorts of junky hands. At this point, it's just weird that he bet the turn. He didn't bet with a 10. I mean, I guess he could have had a weak ace and had two pair, in which case, I mean, I beat him. Flush draw. This is a very, very interesting hand. I guess what I'm going to do, I don't think he expects me to fold at ace. So I'm going to fold. He could be barreling with a flush draw, and I guess at that point I have more information, and I guess it seems like he must have made it 50 to try to induce something from this guy, right? Whereas my first inclination is that he made it 50, so he could fold to a raise. It seems like after a post-flop action, I mean, he can't expect me to fold an ace unless he's just that bad. So he must have been doing it to induce something from the short stack or even from me. Even though he is like, he does seem really, really crazy. I just don't think he's expecting me to fold an ace. I will definitely play this guy heads up, given that the table is broken. I'm not going to bet because we're deep and it's easy for him to call again. I'm trying to get on some other tables potentially, but see which ones are good. So I can play some more six-handed for this, for the series' sake. It's weird that that 10-10 hand didn't import. Yeah, it definitely did not import. Just curious and sort of almost leads me to believe that the hands are off and not importing. Okay, so I need to get on another table as soon as possible, and I'll figure out what happened with the 10-10 hand after the fact. So I'm on a couple of wait lists. I'm first on what looks like a decent table. Okay, so we've got action again here. Guy's decided he wants to play me, which is fine by me. Until I get onto another table. My general strategy here. Oh, I got on another one, I think. But let's see how good it is. My general strategy here is going to be play pretty tight against him, given the way that he is shown to play against me six-handed. It's only going to be confounded heads up because you take a guy who can kind of wait and play textbook style at a six-handed table while other players are playing, and you put him in a place where it's just one-on-one. He's just not going to fare well. And he's going to be trying to compensate way too much. For what he thinks should be increased aggression. That's unfortunate. Been a great spot to 4-bet and run him over. So I'm going to play the button here and move on to the other table. Shame to lose my big stack, but it doesn't really make a difference, I think, at this point against him. And it's a good spot I have to pass up just because of the video. I need to gives me an unfair advantage to be able to play heads up and capitalize on that against a player who's clearly tilting against me. Especially because Emil won't be doing that, so. Oh well. So we've got good old I-101 again. A 70-10. Albeit over 10 hands. Fish to my left, and Sammy 32, who is, I think we remember, a somewhat fishy limper. So here I'm at, on this table I'm at in a much better spot than I was on the table earlier with 2 short stacks, even though this one has 3, because 1, this guy is not a professional short stacker. And 2, I'm to the right of the short stack, so I can act after them. I don't think I'm going to induce many bluffs by betting here, and that would be the only reason to bet. I think either of them will fold, and they may call with a pocket pair, but I think I'd rather check and potentially induce some bluffs. Now if he bets in this spot, yeah, I'm just going to check again. I don't see any value in betting, and a pocket pair is not going to fold. If he bets in that spot, I'm generally going to fold because I would expect him to check any hand with showdown value against me because a queen is a good card for me to bet if I'm bluffing or I have a queen. So this guy is typing LOL, awesome call. Meaning he's definitely not a professional short stacker and he's just a short stacker. So I'm going to hate on him. Boo. Snappa's sitting down. From what I remember from him earlier in the year, he was still playing these games then. If he sits in, he's definitely kind of spewy, creative, a solid tag for these limits. From what I remember of him, my memory could be a little fuzzy. So he's definitely getting 4-bet given this spot, and I'll call it off. I think, for reasons that you guys have clearly seen in the past, clearly seen so far. I think I'm going to 4-bet tune him out. That will induce a shove from all his ace X's, all his pocket pairs. I'll happily call him off and flip against those, but I'm just beating well ahead of his range. And while I could call and play post flop with 2 overcards and against somebody who's probably going to I'll make money on a c-bet, I think I'd rather get it in pre-flop where in this spot my range is just ace queen just plays very well against the hands that he's going to be shoving in, at least as far as I can tell so far. So it looks like there are some other tables popping up, but games are getting actually better. Don't know if I'm going to sit out on this one. Oh, wow. Well, that's a muck. I was going to do that. Not 222, but I was going to raise if he did. Yeah, I probably will. Well, let me evaluate these things. So I've got a really insane aggressive player on one of the tables, and the Greek 555. I've also got 2 short stacks and crushing kills on this other table too. I may, however, want to stay at this table primarily because there's a huge fish to my left, and he might rebuy. He might rebuy if he gets busted. Here I'm going to call. It would suck to get check raised by him, but if I raise, I'm getting jammed on by almost any pair, and I have to ditch my flush draw. So there's really no point. I think I actually have to muck here. Well, let's discuss. If I raise, I think he's just this player. It might be good against certain players. I think he's going to call it off with almost any hand. And look at this note: don't run big bluff against him. So we're not going to do it. But let's talk about why. If I raise, he's going to call it off with all better draws just because of the type of player he is, even though he doesn't have odds. And even if I shove, if I call, he could be bluffing, and if he shoves the river, where am I at? If I don't pick up a 4 or a 7 or a club, that's not good. And I'm also not guaranteed to get paid off every time because he could have a better club draw. So, not to mention the times I pair my 7 on the river, but it's a diamond, and he was double barreling with a diamond draw. So, unfortunately, I have to fold there. If my flush draw is bigger, I'm probably going to be putting in a raise or at least a call on the turn, a raise or I'll be playing it further. I'll be raising on the flop or with overcards. Or I'll be raising on the turn with fold equity and overcards. But in that spot, I'm just drawing to 9 outs that aren't always clean. So, what's interesting, I keep saying that. What's interesting, I should stop that. I need to work on some other similar sayings that convey the same meaning. But for the sake of this point of discussion, what's interesting, other than the fact that I have pocket queens here, is that if I were allowed to look at Emil's tables and he were playing against me and I was losing, I would definitely be shoving that hand because I want to gamble and make sure I win this bet. I'm just gonna keep betting here. If I check, I expect him to check back, and that's a good card to double barrel. So I'm just gonna continue to bet. Here I'm gonna call and play a small pot. I think. Well, I'll bet here and hope he calls a two pair. I think I'm going to check and call here. I'm not positive. I don't like it. I don't know if he's going to turn. I think I have to. I can't bet because I can't stand a raise, although I could easily bet fold, but at that point he'd probably fold worse. If I check, I induce a bluff from a missed flush draw, and he might have something like Jack X of hearts, which is value betting. He could have ace four of spades here. He only bet 720. I think it's just a crying call at this point. Kind of looks like I'm giving up. Could have a 9, of course. And there we go. Didn't like it. But something that you have to do, I think, without knowing your opponent better. And we haven't played many pots against each other. Funny thing is, if I bet there, I think he only calls because the backdoor flush got there. And of course, I'm folding to a raise. So if that hand didn't import, I got to make sure that it's have that one too. Oh no. You know what? Both hands maybe did import, and because it's past midnight, so the thing is that's not good. The thing is moved over to another day. Aha. So okay, those hands did import. It's just so I got 35 hands left. Okay. I'm up $5,000 to $20 after that call. Poker tracker. Gotta make sure that when it hits midnight, you switch over to the next day. Could have been doing this video for hours. It was chilling at hand 400. Let's look at Shop Leak stats. Sorry that Poker Ace isn't working, but I'll narrate the stats for you if I can. There we go. So I might re-raise him here. Yeah, so he's 27.15. I'm gonna re-raise him in that spot. He calls. I'm gonna bet to move out pocket pairs, even though I have a pair. The fact that he insta-min raises is just really weird, and if we were deeper I would float him, but I do have a pair, but like the insta-min raise is just really weird. I'm going to give it to him. Give him credit there. I think I mixed up betting that flop against crush and kill on this table, on the right table, and checking to induce. If we played more hands, I'll know which one works better against him. I think if he sees me checking a lot and just folding, he's gonna bet more. So that would be a better reason to bet to check. But with mid pair and a backdoor flush draw, I think it's definitely a good reason to put in a bet. Here I'm making a bigger re-raise than I normally do because we're deeper. Be nice if I've got 23 hands left. It would be nice if I'm able to pick up another buy-in because I think then Emil would have, unless he runs really hot, he would have a definite problem uh, catching up to me. But as it is, 500 hands, it's going to be close. Let it be known that for future reference and all these challenges against each other, we don't scrap the video if we do it and end up having a losing session or start off losing or anything like that. So it's just very likely that I end up being down 5 binds and hope that he ends up being down more binds than that, and that way I win the bet. But this is our first attempt, so I'm happy. I'm happy. At least I'm up 2.5 binds at this point, and something that I really staunch supporter of is just unfiltered content. As far as losing or winning sessions, I have losing sessions. I have big winning sessions. I have big losing sessions. Ideally I have more big winning sessions than big losing ones and little losing ones, and little winning ones. But losing sessions are a part of poker, and I think a lot of people can learn how to deal with them and be able to see how you're not supposed to vary your play unless you have a good reason to while you're losing, unless you want to make it look like you're tilting, things like that. I don't necessarily every poker player loses. The best players in the world lose. That's it, period. And to be a great player, you need to understand how they deal with that. That's something I'm also going to expound on, I think, in an article. How to deal with big winning sessions and how to deal with big losing sessions and how you should be playing during them and so on. Show there. And winding up the session, might as well try and juice up as much action as possible while I can. I can bet and fold to a raise here. Terrible card, so I have to check fold. I mean, he may not bet all his, may not bet 2 pair on that turn, but he could certainly have a straight. I think I might win with this. Probably had 8-10 suited, I'd say. No, ace-5 suited. See, if I were him, I definitely would have bet the turn and bet any river, because if I check call, I never have straight, and he could really, I think it's really misplayed by him. If I check call, I can never have a straight, right? So, for one, he's got 12 outs, and two, sorry, 9 outs. Well, no, 9 plus 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14 outs. So he's got 14 outs, sorry, against any overpair that I have, unless it's aces, obviously, or unless I have a set. And he has a ton of fold equity over any one pair hand. I may just check fold kings on that turn. So I think it's a huge mistake not to bet with ace-5 of diamonds there. And, even if I check call, I'm definitely check folding the river. So he can just turn that hand to a bluff, even though he has showdown value. That should have been a hand that he won with the worst hand if he had thought about how to play it correctly and evaluated all his options. So I'm going to blind out here. I've got 3 hands left. Repop, gamble, gamble, hopefully win this and put myself in a better spot to win the bet. So I get cold called by the donkey. Okay. He checks. I think I'm just going to check and call all in here. I mean, he could have been slow playing, but I just expect him to bet the flop. Nice. Hold. Nice. So I expect him to bet the flop with not that I would have check folded the flop. I might have done that anyway, but I expect him to bet the flop with a big hand and not slow play. And he's 70-10, so his cold calling range obviously is going to include hands like ace-3 of diamonds, or I wouldn't have done that. Okay, and I believe that is that. 501 hands. I want about 3 buy-ins. So that should be good enough, I hope, to help me go 2 for 2 in these challenges. Hope you enjoyed episodes 2 through 4 of LimeSlicer, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about some of the hands in the forums. This is Krantz with deucescrack.com, and I will see you guys soon. Hopefully, actually I won't see you because I'll be holding the video camera and Emil will be buying my burritos. Good luck, guys.